Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back, everyone. It's Luis and Josh bringing you back another nice episode of Battle Chads. Uh, as you know, we're always here to bring you the best and most wonderful news with competitive Magic. Josh is ready to get going. Isn't that right, Josh?
Hell yeah.
And we're hoping to talk about some interesting topics just before the Pro Tour for, Modern comes to be. It's going to be taking place in Amsterdam this time around, so anyone going for the MagicCon, don't forget that's going on at the same time. Drop by, show your support. I think it's going to be an amazing event, and I really hope that it brings to light some fun new decks for Modern Horizons 3, because there's a lot of stuff going on in the background that speculation, we'll call it, about what decks might actually be up and coming. Now,
See, we did a top 10 sort of deck list that we thought were going to be really good, and I do think we were pretty much bang on the money for that last podcast. However, of Modern just keeps on evolving, and there's been since that last pod we did with the top 10, we've had an emergence of Jeskai control, variations of Mardu energy. I know we said that our version of Mardu that we posted on that pod was more like a mid-range sort of scam Mardu, but it's gone more sort of aggro centric, and it just shows that Modern is still wide open, and
oh
it's
yeah,
still changing, and it's still evolving, and it's really really exciting.
there's a lot of amazing decks came to be. Like this new Through the Breach Tron as well. No one was expecting something like that to happen.
Yeah,
And it's an amazing time right now in Modern. There's so much going on, so many new decks to be found. I doubt we found even slightly close to the best ones just yet. There's a lot of innovation, and as much as everyone loves watching Aspiring Spike make all the decks, he's only one man. He can't make every deck. So
yeah.
it's nice to see all the rest of the players, making their takes on different kinds of versions of decks. I know one of the big topics as well that just came to be was the recent BNR that happened
Yep,
yesterday. Today's Tuesday.
yep.
So yesterday Monday there was a ban and restricted announcement from Wizards. It was the usual they do a few weeks after the release of a set. This one was because of MH3, of course. And on this one, I know there's not too many happy people in some regards. Others expected this. There was no changes, none at all, in any format whatsoever. Now that was really expected for Standard, Pioneer, and Modern.
Well, not Pioneer. I was expecting a summit in Pioneer.
Yeah, there was a little bit of talks about Amalia. Amalia is not the most interactive and fun deck to play against.
No.
Um, it's towards the end of the Pioneer season, so maybe that's why they don't want to touch it, allowing people to still use it, I guess, for the RC. I'm
Well,
not really
that's
sure.
why that's one of the reasons he said is because of all the big tournaments coming up and towards the end of the Pioneer season. He didn't really want to touch it for that
Yeah,
exactly the reason that you just said.
exactly. So I get it, and I didn't think they would touch much, not this late. I mean, they've done it before, and it's usually a big feels bad. I think they did it with Fury, was it, in the middle of
Yeah.
modern season? That was a bit awkward. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, I get a lot of people think Fury deserved to die, but it's definitely not the best timing for these kind of things. I would always try and save it for the off season unless something is absolutely ridiculous. Um,
I think when this announcement was or this ban announcement was I guess announced. I said announced about three times, but when it was announced, I guess as people suspected that, yeah, obviously Grief's going to go in Legacy, yeah, Amali's going to get answered in Pioneer, and then, yeah, why would you change Modern because it's still evolving? There's nothing really that should be banned. It's still finding its place. The meta's still finding its place. Standard looks really healthy right now, especially with Bloomburrow coming up. Um, but people really had something from Amalia in their sights, and definitely Grief out of Legacy. I think not banning Grief out of Legacy left a real sour taste in a lot of Legacy players' mouths, especially. I mean, I I've not been engaging with Legacy, my once favorite format of all time, because it's very stale, and I do think with the influx of these new cards from MH3, there is a logical sort of process there to give the meta a chance to evolve, give the meta a chance to change with nuances, with new cards. However, I just think that Grief is too egregious, and the scam package in Legacy is too egregious that it's just it'll take more than M83. It needs Wizards intervention, I believe. However,
yeah.
it's not happened. I get the reasons behind it. I think you're a big fan of their decision. I get the reasons behind it. see how the meta evolves. But MH has been out for what, 3 or 4 weeks now, and
Yeah.
it's still very, very scam heavy.
Yeah, this is coming from the Scaminator man himself. He was
Yeah,
playing
well,
blue
yeah.
black Scaminator all day, every day.
Well,
I
I do like my blue black piles, but yeah.
yeah, I understand it. I mean, I don't play Legacy nearly as much as you do. I do watch it a fair bit. I played a little bit online here and there. And while I do think Grief probably should have been touched because I'm not liking him in Legacy, I think it's a bit annoying, too much happening.
Yep.
I understand the decision behind not banning anything right now.
Yep.
They did mention it on their post for both Modern and Legacy that banning something right now is just premature. Now, these are the two formats that really get affected by this set. It's the set for these formats, and they're gonna have another BNR in August. Maybe that's when that finally gets the hammer. I don't think it's a bad idea to do so. Give it a little more time to settle. Who knows, right? Maybe there's a lot of decks to come, and maybe Grief won't be a problem at all because everything else is just too strong or better than Grief. That's a realistic expectation of what's going on. It can happen. I'm not saying it will. I'm not saying it's expected, but it can.
Yeah. I know this pod's going to be focused more on modern, but I will say that just because it's in my brain and I want to talk about it. I do think that the Legacy sort of format would do really well for how Pauper's gone in terms of the Pauper panel, whatever you want to call them. And I think because Legacy is inherently like Pauper in the sense that it's a community run sort of format now, because Wizards just aren't supporting it in terms of competitive play. It's not a pathway you can do to get on the Pro Tour or anything like that. I do think that if you get a Legacy format panel like Pauper has, I think they've done a cracking job, especially with when they approach the pre-bans through Cranial Ram in MH3. I just think they're doing a great job for that format, and that format is absolutely thriving right now, and it's arguably potentially one of the best formats, if not the best format right now.
Yeah, there's a lot to be said about having a dedicated group of players that play that format and really know that format,
Yeah.
super well.
Yeah.
To just make decisions behind bannings. Don't get me wrong, the Wizards has a lot of people working on sets and the functionality of the sets, but as we heard from recent news, it's not always ideal how they do it.
Well, it's not in their focus, right? It's not in their focus. They're not bothered about Pauper, really. That's where they got this panel, because it's not what sells packs. And they're not bothered about Legacy because, well, Legacy doesn't really sell packs, because once they've got your cards, your reserve list, that's it. It's more of a secondary market thing. So I do think if you empower players like they did with Pauper, I think it would do the format amazingly well. But yeah, that's my.
Yeah. But even as we've seen, with how they play test some things, I'm not sure if people have heard of it, but there's a lot of play testing that took place for this Modern Horizons set that was mostly done with Commander players and in Commander settings.
Yeah.
That's not good. Not in my eyes. It's not what I want. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, Commander players can be part of it for their own thing, but it should have been focused around Modern players and 1v1 play, as that's how this set is going to be played for the most part. Is it going to affect Commander? Sure, but everything does.
Yeah, everything's. I mean, your Commander players will find cards, and it's a
fun format, right? That's what Commander
capitalism
is. It's a fun format. So why are they worrying about testing that so much? They should have been testing behind the competitive scene of Modern, of Legacy, of these kind of formats. And don't get me wrong, there's a lot of resources that go into that very hard. That's why I like these little these panels. They're a lot more dedicated to their specific format and can probably come up with better decisions than what would have been done otherwise. Whether that's playtesting wise or just banning wise, I think there's a lot that can be broken down there that is really worth it for the players to really make the playing experience better for everyone.
I agree.
They're talking about a similar thing with the Assassin's Creed set coming up as well. There's been a lot of the same kind of testing, so I'm a little worried about what's going to happen there. There's some cards in Assassin's Creed that are interesting to say the least. Exciting as well, like that one tax collector card. I'll try and put up a picture of it if I can find one. There are a lot of interesting things. I'm just hoping that they haven't underdone it, if that makes sense, in terms of testing enough to really know what works and what doesn't. Because I refuse to believe that cards like Nadu were properly tested. It's while we have found that people can answer it to some effect, it's not fun. It is not a fun card to have in this kind of format. It's not interesting. It's a nightmare in a lot of ways, if I'm honest with you. So I really hope that they do a better job with Assassin's Creed and sets moving forward for this kind of thing.
I will say we'll move on from the subject now, but I would say that if you want to see more of our views on casual and the relationship between casual and competitive Magic, we did have a pod released quite a few pods ago, called Casual to Competitive, and it's a lot of our views and our opinions are based on there. We had the wonderful Wally from Chad Magic there with us to discuss that. But Luis, you've been doing really well with the deck, and it's a deck. We talked about a Mardu deck on our top 10, but your version, you've changed it a little bit.
Yeah,
Tell
so
me
this
about
was
your version of Mardu.
this is an interesting little version of the deck. It's not wholly mine. This was mainly from Spike. Spike was working on this list. I liked what he was doing. I
Yeah.
did play around with it a little bit. I've been testing different things. This is Spike's list that I have here in front of me. I'm bringing it up for you guys now. Now in this list, our faces are gone here for you guys for a little bit. You see that instead of having the scam package, we have, well, a more mid-rangey, fair package. We have Dragon's Rage Channeler, Nethergoyf, these more kind of mid-rangey, aggro-y threats instead of having Solitudes and Griefs. It's been quite good, if I'm honest with you. The deck feels like it can play against anything. It's not just an auto loss like some decks might be versus certain styles of decks. It can play against Storm, it can play against Nado, especially with the 4 Harsh Mentor in the sideboard. There's a lot going on, and I've really liked it. It's been really interesting with Flage being obviously one of the kingpin cards of the entire set, let alone this deck here. I'm using cards like Arena of Glory with him. It's been a really, really fun deck to play around with and do so much with. I love the deck. I really think that these Mardu decks are amazingly fun. We haven't seen Mardu in a long time since, I think like Mardu Pyromancer was the last real big Mardu deck in Modern.
It's the new Jund, right?
Yeah,
it's
it
is.
The new Jund, right? It is, very much so. I've loved the deck. I really recommend people give it a try. There's a lot of these cards are really powerful. Ajani has been surprisingly good. When you read the cards, like, oh yeah, it's pretty good stats for a 2-drop and all this, and if you flip's amazing, but it's so much better. It's really solid.
You flip that card and then you die.
Yeah, basically, and it's been really, really fun. And then you, Josh, you've been on Death Shadow, if I'm not mistaken.
I have been experimenting with Death Shadow, but before we move on to that, I really like this deck because your deck we're talking about, because the fact it plays Fable of the Mirror Breaker as well to really like smooth out the consistency of this deck. And I don't think I've seen a Mardu version. Well, I've not seen Spike's list. This is the first time on this pod you've shown me it, but I've not seen a Mardu list play Fable of the Mirror Breaker yet, and that's really exciting. I think. This deck's sick. Like, I'm sorry to go on. This deck's sick. Like, it's very aggressive. It's got a very good mid-range plan. It's highly interactive. You've got hand disruption. You've got removal. You've got Mistress Bauble and Fable to really smooth the deck out. The land package clean. The sideboard I think could do a bit of work. I'm not massively convinced on Vexing Bauble in Modern.
Yeah, I agree. It's a card that I'm glad we have access to, but I'm unsure how good it currently is.
Yeah, I think we were talking before this pod about putting
Let's fix them all right there.
We were putting that card. Saga.
Okay, yeah, Saga.
Where would it fit? And we were like, I don't know where it'd fit. I'm not sure if this is where you want to go with this deck.
Yeah, Urza Saga is definitely a card to consider. I think it's really hard to fit in a 3-color deck, even though it feels like I really want to somehow find a way. Obviously, Jund Saga does it, but Jund Saga kind of gets away with it playing Red and 6 and those kind of things. Can't play Red and 6 in this. Can't just add green. So there's a lot of interest there. It would allow a lot of extra tools and extra ways of fighting that I find interesting. Having access to your 1-drop, 0-drop artifacts really easily, getting your Delirium online faster, or for Nethergoyf as well for bringing it back, or even having things like Shadow Spear that you can grab. They're very relevant cards in long, grindy matchups.
Shadow Spear on a Flage. Ouch.
If Flage wasn't strong enough, could you imagine that? Oh yeah, now it's a 7/7 trample lifelinker. Oh yeah, super fun. I can't wait. Oh man.
So big deck. So that was amazing. So Death Shadow.
Death Shadow, yeah.
I've been practicing Death Shadow, so I've tried Grixis Death Shadow. I'm not going to give you a list because the list it's not solved, so I'm not going to throw a list up to play this because the sideboard is everywhere. The main deck, like, I'm not really sure. So I played Grixis Death Shadow with Nevergoyfs, Dragon Rage Channelers, similar threats to what you've got here, with Opus
Psychic
Bowmasters,
Frog.
etc. A Psychic Frog. Psychic Frog is amazing. Psychic Frog against the red removal decks, particularly the blue-red control deck, insane. If that card sticks, they like I will happily just discard my hand to keep that alive. Like, I'll just keep drawing cards and kill you dead. Like, it's going to get to a point where your deck cannot remove this. You need white removal to remove it. I tried blue black just before this pod. I did a league with blue black. Death Shadow. I saw a list by a guy called Anthony Soon, which came he came 6th in the what's this tournament called? In a 20k Laughing Dragon and Tacoma, WA's Wyoming, I believe. You should know the Duty America.
Yeah.
So yeah, that deck looked really interesting to me. I saw blue black and thought, oh, Death Shadow, let's give that a go.
I see it here.
Felt really good against. I played against a Mardu, a different deck to yours. It played Aether Vial for some reason, but it really good against that deck. Really good against the blue red control deck I played against, and I can't remember the other deck I won against, but really bad against white removal. Like,
I'll bring
the
on
Mardu control deck.
I'll bring on the thing on screen as well so everyone can see, for anyone who's watching as well as listening, just so you have the list.
Really bad against the white removal decks, Jeskai control decks. We'll talk about that after this though, because that deck is super interesting. I really liked it. This deck played 4 Tamios over 4 Nethergoyfs. Tamio felt great against the attrition sort of play style. So, like, if the sort of Pasco play style, all I'm doing is upping, and you have to answer this Planeswalker, or when I down tick it after 7, I'm just going to win the game. It felt really good. That spot. It felt okay against the low to the ground aggro decks because a 0/3 for 1 is actually a really good blocker. And it's kind of nice to just draw a card when you got nothing else going on. So attrition wise, it's actually a great Planeswalker, a great creature / Planeswalker. I feel like this deck needs to be a bit more aggressive than that, though. Murktide Regent felt really good with Psychic Frog, so I can fuel my graveyard with Psychic Frog to get the Murktide out, but then I can also buff the Murktide by discarding stuff through my Psychic Frog to make it bigger, but then exiling stuff from my graveyard to give Psychic Frog flying, which then buffs my Murktide. So that was like not combo, but it synergized really, really well. The deck felt really good. But what I really thought was fun in this deck was the Rakdos Charm one-off. So it splashes Steam Vents to play Rakdos Charm on the sideboard, which obviously against the Nadu decks, when they go wide with all the little 1/1 creatures, you just be like, yeah, cheers. When in response to your Thassa's Oracle trigger, I'll just kill you dead.
Yeah, that's definitely a big tech. I know that Nadu decks have been playing more Teferis for this reason as well, to stop those kind of
I had this card in my hand when Teferi was on the board, and I was like, if only Teferi wasn't there, this would be great.
And that's why the rise.
It didn't seem to play. I didn't see, as they were cycling through the deck, I didn't see much in the way of counter spells. So I think they're just riding on the Teferi train to keep them alive.
Yeah. And that's why we've all seen a big rise of Harsh Mentor in the sideboards. It is the single best answer to Nadu. They don't have the best removal for getting rid of it once you blend it. And it really does stop them from, activating anything unless they really want a quick grave.
It's just I think the numbers need to change. I'm going to try, instead of Tamio, I'm going to try Nethergoyf in this build. But I think that the red splash seems free, so I'm guessing that some of the red sideboard cards might be worth it. But yeah, that was my experience. Death Shadow, really good. I did better with the Grixis Death Shadow overall. I think I did 3 leagues the other night, and I went something like 7-3 or something. And then, sorry, hang on, that's only 2 leagues. I did 3 leagues. I can't remember what last league was, but I did a very, 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 very positive win record with that. And then this league with the blue black, I did 3-2.
Nice. Okay.
5-0s.
Okay, fair. It seems some fair standings while Josh gets the hang of his deck. Yeah.
Yep. And I mean, it's one of those. It's one of those. You pick up a deck that you like the look of in this format, and then you play it, and you're like, you just give it a go, and Unless you're a sort of master at that deck and get the reps in, you're not going to get the little
Yeah,
intricacies, are you?
yeah. I've seen it a lot with I have some friends who've started playing MTGO recently. They've been picking up Rawl Storm, and so some of their finishes are not so hot. Let's say the least. To say the least, it's not always easy getting into a deck that can be hated on quite easily.
Yeah.
Now, while Shadow's a bit better at that, it definitely dies to Solitude rather hard.
I think the Ral Storm decks is like a passion deck. You really need to be into that sort of archetype to play it really, really well, and to have the patience to find the lines. Because I think if you just pick it up to, oh, this deck is doing really well or whatever, I don't think you're gonna have the best experience.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. It's not the easiest one to just pick up and go. You have to
Yeah.
know when to take the risk, the percentage of the risk, and be able to do quick maths for yourself, and not be afraid to lose one too many pings to Ral. I've seen one too many people just, I don't know, I keep hearing stories of losing 8, 12, 16 flips in a row, and it's insane when that happens with Ral. All these
Yeah.
coin flip effects right now going on.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, coin flip effects, invert polarity, that card, amazing.
Yes.
Oh my god.
It's so good.
I got wrecked, and I mean
Did you?
wrecked. I was playing my Marty pile at the FNM against a friend of mine called Sakai. Oh my god, that card is amazing. Game 1, I beat him solidly. Game 2, again, I'm beating him solidly. I go, I'll reanimate my Phage. Invert polarity, he gets my Phage, and then I get beat the crap out of by my own Phage. Phage is stupid, especially when your opponent takes it from you for free. Or well, for 3 mana, I guess.
Why are you hitting yourself? Oh
God, he blood mooned me right after that as well, so it was the worst feeling in the world.
Ah,
I drew a prismatic ending, but I had to get rid of the Phage, otherwise I was gonna die to it. So it was the worst feeling in the world, man. Oh, some fun cards out here.
That card's super sick. I actually cast that on a league the other day when I was trying Jeskai Control. By the way, I cannot play Control. Just saying, I'm not a Control player. And I took someone's Gigantha. That was the best I got. That was okay. Beat them with their own Gigantha. That's what they get for playing Gigantha, I suppose.
I played a Gigantha. I got instantly Flame of Anord. My opponent drew 2 cards and killed it. It was great.
Brilliant.
Yeah,
Brilliant.
Great companion. I love it. Anyway, enough of my FNM stories. As we were saying, Modern Horizons 3.
Yeah. Jeskai Control is so basically one of the decks we were really excited about from talking our top 10 was the blue-red control decks. The Wizard sort of Flame and More, Splash and Snapcaster Mage, bring back Flame and More for value, etc. So what they've done now is they've splashed white for the OG Phage, who is probably the best threat in the foot that MH3's brought, providing you're not skimping on mana. So the best fair sort of threat, you know what I mean? Not playing like your Eldrazi and all that. To the point where control decks have just used it as a finisher, as a win con. So there's a lot of control decks have come across playing the One Ring, all that sort of stuff, Solitudes, etc. There's different builds, but they're playing white for not only Phage, but not only for Solitude, but also for that new Wrath card. Wrath of the Skies, I believe.
Wrath of the Skies, yeah.
That card
is
sick, and I'll tell you why that card's sick. Not only does it destroy all the creatures and threats, but it also destroys enchantments and artifacts that stop you from using Phage as a game-winning threat. So, Grafdigger's Cages, Rest in Pieces. Mate, I even cast Wrath of the Skies to kill. Was it 2? Leyline of Sanctities.
Oh god!
And that was only 2 mana because I cantripped throughout the game, so I had like 8 energy saved up. So 2 mana, kill all your things, have mana up for counter spell.
That's brutal.
Get my threats back.
So brutal. Oh,
that card is sick. That card is so it's probably one of the best board wipes I've seen in a while, like a good while.
Yeah, Wrath of the Skies has been a very powerful. We called it, I think, a little bit. We spoke about it in the other pod that how good this card actually was and how little representation it was getting. And here it is. It's wrecking everyone. Hard scales players are hiding under their beds now. They can't do anything anymore. There's just so much that this card answers, and so easily that it was bound to happen that this card was going to be probably the best Wrath in the format. Even with cards like Toxic Deluge, people thought it was going to be pretty good. Everyone knows that card from Legacy.
Yeah.
Nope, this card is way better.
It's like the fact that you can just it's essentially a two mana, it can be a two mana board when you've got a deck full of galvanic discharges and tune of narratives, and even if you overcost your Wrath of Skies and bank some energy for later, like if you've got like 5 mana held up, you can board wipe and then Flame of an or you can board wipe and then hold counterspell and spell snare up, for example. Like just two mana is like for what this does is ridiculously good. If this was a 6 mana card, I'd be like fair one. But 2 mana, you know what I mean, with a bit of correct deck construction.
Yep. Because the way it reads, just for anyone who's unaware, is it's X and 2 white. You get X energy. Then you may pay any amount of energy. Destroy each artifact, creature, and enchantment with mana value less than or equal to the amount of energy paid this way. So, let's say you're top decking mode. Okay, you have a bunch of mana. You just do whatever amount of energy you want on X. Boom, got it. Or you already have 5, 6, 7, whatever amount of energy banked up. You grab this, play it for 2 mana, wipe their board, play your big threat. Easy. Super solid card. Really easy to use.
I mean, Leyline of Sanctity was almost like a protection spell against my threats, because then I could board wipe their things and get my thing back. Here's for protecting my threat.
Yeah. It's just, man, I can't wait to see someone get their, what are they called? Leyline Bindings absolutely blown out of the water with this card. You know, you're playing the binding matchup, and then you have this. Oh, brutal.
It's very easy. It's very easy to get to that level of mana, that level, even if you flood in or whatever. Yeah,
it's just solid, super solid.
I get excited with cards.
And it's really cool. It's really cool as well that you can just, let's say you have a bunch of mana, you know all you're going to be able to do is Wrath. You pay all your mana into the Wrath. You get all that energy, but you only use some of it to Wrath and bank up the rest.
Yep.
It's really cool. Yep. The card's flexible, has a lot of cool things to do. And I'm excited to see what else it's going to do in the Pro Tour.
Plus, you can, if you got your Flage out and you board wipe, you got a lot of you can actually tailor it so you can keep your Flage out and also kill all their 2-drops, for example, because you just paid for 2 energy.
Absolutely, and it's exciting. Now, with Jeskai control out of the way, the unexpected deck that we weren't really. Well, I mean, people were playing control, but it was supposed to be the Azorius One Ring. Now we have this. What else do you think is gonna break the meta? There's a lot of talk on Twitter and everywhere else that people just chat about Magic, that a lot of the pros are hiding their best decks. I think there was a tweet that a friend sent to me where a guy literally said, "I'm not allowed to play our deck on MTGO, so I've been playing a different deck," and they still 5-0'd with it. So what is this our deck? What are these hidden techs that people might have? What do you think are going to be like the 3 cards that you expect to just bust it for whatever reason? You don't have to give a justification. You don't have to give context. You just think are going to be great at breaking the format. What are your 3 cards?
My 3 cards?
Yeah, for this Pro Tour.
So I've picked 3. We had this discussion before this pod, and I've just picked 3 because I like I said, I'm not a brewer. If you ask me to build a deck, you are asking the wrong person. I'm just not doing that because I'm not clever enough. However, I picked 3. So I've put Ocelot Pride, which let me just get the text up for it. Where is it?
I'll bring it on screen for you guys as well.
Yeah.
You want? I can read it out if you want.
Sure. Yeah, you read it out because I've took out the feedback from my last pod and I can't read cards. So Luis is going to do it.
So Ocelot Pride reads, First Strike Lifelink, Ascend. Ascend is if you control 10 or more permanents, you get the City's Blessing for the rest of the game. It's a single white pip creature. At the beginning of your end step, if you gained life this turn, create a 1/1 white cat creature token. Then, if you have the City's Blessing, for each token you control that entered the battlefield this turn, create a token that's a copy of it, and it's a 1/1 creature itself. So this card has a lot of interesting play with it. This is one of those cards that reads so unassuming, but can do so much. I've chatted with a few friends about, what if you could put this card in Rhinos somehow? The turn that you make Rhinos, you have the City's Blessing, boom, now instead of just 2 4/4s, you get 4 4/4s, and the cat, and the 1/1 that the cat make. I'm just saying, this looks really cool. There's a lot of little things that I could see with this card. The most useful way with it right now is obviously using it in an Ajani deck because it's a cat. So if it dies and it's a cat that they kind of need to kill, Ajani
Plus
will flip.
with Sorin as well. I think
Yep, with Sorin as well.
Yeah.
The flip walkers that have relevant abilities with these kind of creatures, I think is really cool. I'm excited to see this card potentially break a little more into Modern. We've seen it a little bit in Mardu energy piles, but let's see if they can find a little more dedicated suitor for it. What's your card number 2?
Arena of Glory. I know you were playing this card, but I've faced this card in played against this card in Flage piles, etc. It taps for you 2 red, and it comes out, and then it's got haste. So you're getting that's so aggressive for a Flage because you come out, you get your Lightning Helix twice, and you're getting a 6/6 thrown at you. Card sick. I'll have a go at reading this out.
Yeah, go for it.
I'll go on then and see if I can do this. So Arena of Glory enters the battlefield tapped unless you control a mountain. Tap it to add 1 red. Arena of Glory is a land, by the way. Red and tap exert arena. Red and a tap. You can exert Arena of Glory, a mechanic back from Amonkhet. Add 2 red. If that mana is spent spent on a creature spell, it gains haste until end of turn. That includes when you bring Flage back from the graveyard. I think this card's really good. And my last card is I don't know how to say it if I'm saying this properly. It's Chthonian Nightmare.
Yeah.
So this card is really is I really like this card. So enter the battlefield. It's enchantments, 1 and a black. Enters the battlefield. You get 3 energy. You can pay X energy, sacrifice a creature, return Chthonian Nightmare to its owner's hand, return target creature card with mana X from your graveyard to the battlefield. Activate only as a sorcery. So it's a recurring sort of card advantage sort of engine using the graveyard. I think this deck is really good. I think in the right shell, this deck could take away with the game.
Some would call it a recurring nightmare.
Yeah. They're my 3 cards. I know I'm rushing a little bit now because I've got a child to pick up in school in 5 minutes. But what's your 3, Luis?
So my 3 very easy cards. It is Haragast Erupting Nullkite. This is a 9 mana colorless creature with Emerge, red, and 6. Emerge is you may sacrifice a creature and reduce the generic pips of the cost of this card by that creature's CMC. That's how Emerge works. Again, I'll try and bring these cards up for everyone so they can see exactly what we're talking about. It has 2 abilities. The first one is when it enters the battlefield, you may discard your hand. If you do, draw 3 cards. Simple, nice and easy. The other one, and it's the one that I really think has the potential to break something, is each creature spell you cast has Emerge. The Emerge cost is equal to its mana cost. Now, when I look at this, and I think of it, can you find a way to get this card out a little early for cheap somehow? If you do, your Ulamog is 1 mana for its Emerge cost. That's insane to me. I think there's something there. Maybe I'm just, talking about ghosts, but I think there's something that can happen there. And that's what I'm excited to see with this card. And then my next card is Primal Prayers. You've heard us talk about this card 1,000 times, so I won't bore you with it. And then the last one is Shifting Woodlands. Again, another card that we heard us talk about. Both of these cards, I think, it's reasonable that they will break something or do something. I think that there has to be more ways to play with it. I know Spike played with them a lot, and he wasn't able to find something quite there yet. But hopefully the hive mind of Modern can find something else. And those are my 3 random, non-context, just out-of-the-hat takes on what might be broken at this Pro Tour coming up. And I'm really excited to see that. Anything else you wanted to say there, Josh?
No, I'm good with this pod if you are.
No, I'm happy. And I wanted to thank everyone with, thank you for showing us all the support. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And join us on the next one, guys. I know it's a bit of a more hasty pod, but it's something fun to throw in before the Pro Tour. Thought people would enjoy.
I want to know your card picks in the comments as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, leave a nice comment about what you think might be the sleeper card that no one has seen yet that is going to break Modern. Let us know, and have a good one, guys. Take care.
See you guys. Bye.